Watching today's winners and losers on Wall Street with our financial expert Rob Black, and looking at possibly 2 days of losses here on Wall Street, and a lot of disappointment here. Jobless claims, retail sales, not great data coming out today.
I'll be honest, the data has been disappointing. Our GDP should be higher than it is at this point in time, at this point of the recession recovery. Applications today for first-time unemployment claims, they were good. But the other economic data, like retail sales, was bad. So we have a very soft second quarter developing, and we thought it was going to be a solid second quarter developing. We seem to be stuck at an anemic 2% GDP growth. I know, too much data, but we don't want 2%, we want 3%.
Right, if there's any silver lining, is that inflation at least remains in check. I keep hearing people, growing fears that inflation is going to take off in this country. It doesn't seem to be a worry right now.
It depends on where you are. College cost inflation, it's inflating. Healthcare cost has been inflating. Cost for a TV, not so much. Food, oh my gosh. Have you seen the price of steaks recently, Mark?
Yeah, they're really going up. So don't eat, don't go to college, just stay home and watch TV, and inflation won't bite you. Is the message? No, it's a bad message. All right, talk about Twitter and more upheaval in this company. The COO now out.
Yeah, Twitter is just, it's not had a good first year. Their COO, Chief Operating Officer, was in charge of getting new users onto the platform. They haven't been getting the new users. So this makes an enormous amount of sense. None of the other executives sold shares when their lockup period came up. He did. And insiders didn't like that. He referred to himself as the co-CEO, even though he's the COO, and he's not the co-CEO. So he's the wrong guy. Twitter has a history of executive turmoil. Jack Dorsey was original CEO. He was forced out. Evan Williams took over. He was forced out. The CEO now is a former stand-up comedian. Twitter's a mess. With that said, the stock's up big because the guy, he's the scapegoat. He's the guy who didn't get the users that shareholders want to see.
So they get rid of him, and that helps the stock price, at least for today. But they've been on a nice run. Yeah.
Yep.
We're talking Facebook, and Facebook giving advertisers more user information is something that you and I need to worry about?
I'm creeped out by it. The way that Facebook is explaining it is they're going to start giving our web history to advertisers. You didn't know that they did that, huh? But they put a little cookie on your computer and it tracks every web page you go to visit. So even though you don't like bowling alleys, but on their Facebook page, but if you go to bowling alleys and bowling alley pages, they can now give that to a bowling alley as here. Even though he doesn't have anything tied towards bowling alley on his Facebook page, we're going to tell you a secret. He really does like them. It's just too much information for me, but again, people are good giving up their privacy. I'm fine with it as well. Facebook, dominant player in social media. It's starting to get it's trading about 30 times next year's earnings, which isn't that bad, but Google's trading at 16 times next year's earnings, which I kind of like Google more than Facebook, but Facebook is a force, and this kind of data tells you that. Advertisers are going to line up for that information.
Yeah, speaking of advertising, I love this investing tips based on the World Cup, which is just getting underway.
Yeah, Disney has the rights for the South African World Cup 4 years ago. They got the rights for the Brazilian World Cup. That's going to change over to News Corp. Fox, they're going to get the rights for the next 2 World Cups. It's a growing popular sport. Disney paid $100 million. Viewership has risen 22% in the United States since 2006. Ford and GM, their investment plays. So Disney, News Corp, Fox, Ford and GM, they're not the official sponsor. Hyundai is, but Ford and GM, they're going to hijack it. And like, if there's a really tough play where an American puts his face in front of a ball and it stops a goal, you bet Ford and GM are going to say, that player's bored, Ford tough. And then there'll be a little ad, and they'll show you the video on Twitter. Twitter's going to be a player. Facebook is going to be a player. They're not official sponsors, but that's where a lot of us are going to go to see the most amazing, beautiful game on earth and the goals that come out of it. A couple other players, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, official sponsors, both of them. Nike, they've sponsored 10 teams, one more than Adidas, who has sponsored 9 teams. And again, Nike, they're going to be all over social media showing you how great it is. And even though they're not an official sponsor, you will see their commercials during the event. So Nike historically moves up after the World Cup, not during the month of the World Cup. So I like all those names for the long-term patient investor. They're all great names tied towards great sport.
All right, thank you, Rob. And if you have a question for Rob, post on his Facebook fan page, and we'll answer it here on Crom 4.